Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2021 and another part of this experiment where we're seeing what would happen if you had the perfect shell for a non-league team in Football Manager 2021. So what we've done is given this team 150,000 fans, the same size stadium, perfect facilities and everything they would need to benefit from financial fair play. And as you can see in the first part, they had a pretty good time of it. 3 consecutive promotions, just missing out with a third place finish and a playoff semi-final defeat to Rotherham in League One, meaning they're stuck in League One for another year. Today we're going to go forward probably quite a good amount of time into the future to see if they can make it up into the Premier League, maybe sort of 5, possibly even 10 years in the future today, to see if they can make that breakthrough into the top flight. But before we go ahead, please do make sure you drop a like down below if you're enjoying this episode. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new and enjoy these experiments. There's lots more to come this year and lots of other great Football Manager content too, so please do subscribe. But what we'll do is we'll go forward probably about 3 seasons to begin with and see if that's enough. In theory, they'd get in the Championship, then up into the Premier League in that time. So we'll see if they're able to make it up into the big time and then hopefully become a force in English and European football. But let's go ahead, 3 seasons, and see where they get to. So as you can see, their League One second season going pretty well. Papa John's Trophy not doing too well in that one, but going through in the FA Cup second round and the third round, beating Blackburn 2-1 to do that, but going out to Barnsley in the 4th round. Their League One campaign going really well though. They did manage to get promoted up into the Championship. Second time of asking that they've managed to do that. And in the Carabao Cup having a good run, even getting past Burnley in the 4th round. The Championship campaign going pretty well as well, but beaten 3-1 by Manchester United in the quarter-final. They've got Kelechi and Acho up front now. FA Cup out in the 3rd round to Rotherham, who of course denied them their chance in the Championship the season before they got promoted. And then generally doing pretty well in the Championship, but not enough to make it into the playoffs or the Premier League. Second season in the Championship though, beaten in the 4th round by Everton in the Carabao Cup, and the 4th round by Everton in the FA Cup. Everton, their nemesis this season, and towards the end of the season actually doing pretty well in the Championship. If we have a look at that league table, you'll see they did manage to finish in 2nd place, a little way off Aston Villa, who blew the season apart, but 3 points clear of Wolves, got them promoted up into the Premier League. So they have finally managed to do it. You can see there this little graph just taking a little stall before going back up. A nice solid top half finish and then getting promoted in 2nd place. They have now got Ivan Juric in charge. Jarell Quansel is their key player and captain, joined on a free from Bristol. Or 4.2 million, sorry, from Bristol, and it's been doing pretty well for them ever since. Actually, he went on loan to Feyenoord at one point for some reason when he was playing consistently, and not really sure I understand why that happened unless it's something to do with wages. But the team are in pretty good shape now. What's really interesting is that they have moved to a new stadium built in 2027. Brackley Stadium has 10,000 less fans than they had before. If we look at the club details here, reputation's dropped a bit. Fan attendance still pretty good. Finances at 93 million. But they've moved to a new stadium and I don't really know why they've done that when the last stadium was absolutely perfect. This is basically the same stadium but with 10,000 less seats in it. And you can see their facilities just declining a little bit as well. But if we have a look at their transfer history over this time, you can see the money is finally being spent. They only spent $1 million that season, but £65 million spent to get them up into the Championship, including 18 million on Carlo Holst. I imagine this is because the wage cap and everything else got lifted. Kelechi Iheanacho coming in for 8 million as well. He seems to be a decent signing, getting a few goals for them. Big name signing, really. The following season, £45 million spent on players. Mavropanos from Everton, Brennan Johnson, Ethan Laird coming in from West Brom, the former United player, and then £49 million spent. 54 million on this lad, coming in for 75k. That's a huge amount of money for him. I'm not sure he's necessarily going to be worth it, but it shows they are now happy to absolutely splash the cash. And if we look at their senior squad and the wages being paid, the 100 grand is out there to Mamadou Koulibaly, former Udinese player, signed on a free, 100 grand a week in his back pocket. He'll be happy with that. Carlos Holst in there as well, signed for 18 million, coming up on 100 grand. So they've got plenty of money going out in wages. A lot of players here on some very, very nice wages for them. Not too many massive names in there. Iheanacho probably the biggest name. But if we go and have a look as well at their managerial history, you can see, so they had Simon Grayson for a time. He got sacked. Tom Heaton came in as caretaker, but Disque Sal got sacked after just 1 year in charge. And nobody really getting a long period. Kevin Wilkin had 9 years to begin with, and he won the only the only 3 trophies that they got. 1 FA Trophy, National League and National League North. They haven't won any titles since then, I don't think. Oh no, this guy won the Sky Bet League 1. But otherwise, no other trophies coming into the team. So work still to do, but they are now heading into the Premier League for the first time. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Let's go forward maybe 5 years this time and see how they get on as a new Premier League team. So their first game as a Premier League team was a 3-0 defeat to Aston Villa, and there were a lot more of them to come. They did beat Leeds 1-0. 2 players sent off in that game, but they got the victory in front of 140,000 fans. Also beat Crystal Palace 3-1, but then went a very long run without any victories whatsoever, getting smashed a few times as well. 3-0 by Spurs there. Managed to beat Derby and a few other little wins against the kind of teams you would hope to be beating, but generally even losing 2-1 to Plymouth there, not quite making their way back. They had a little rally towards the end of the season. You can see they beat Liverpool 2-1, the biggest victory in the club's history, no doubt about that. They also beat Arsenal 2-1 towards the end of the season. They're probably already relegated at this point. They did actually finish in 18th place, so they were back down into the Championship, but they managed to win a good number of games, going out to Man United in the 4th round of the FA Cup. Made it into the playoffs, but were beaten by Derby, who also went down with them the season before from the Premier League. So into the Championship for another year. They did much better this time, winning a huge number of matches, much stronger outfit, getting past Everton in the FA Cup before losing to Aston Villa 1-0. But they were in the playoffs again, and this time got past Derby in the playoff semi-finals, and in the final beat Sheffield United 3-0 at Wembley to make it back into the Premier League. But you can see once more, not a great start. Well, not a bad start. 6 points from the first 3 games, including a 4-3 win over Wolves. But the rest of it, pretty poor. 1 victory over Liverpool at home again. Liverpool have so far failed to even pick up a point going to Brackley Stadium. Other big wins, Bournemouth, Villa, Newcastle, Everton, 3-1 over West Ham, and ended the season with a 2-1 win over Aston Villa. But they were still relegated, finished in 18th place. And you can see the Championship campaign again, not going too well in the Championship. Let me just see where they finished last season. Brackley actually finishing in 12th in the Championship, so a really, really, really bad time of it for Brackley. If we have a look though at the Premier League table, just jump up one and see where they finished the times that they were in there. So you can see this season they got relegated by 4 goals. 3 teams on 36 points, and they got relegated by 4 goals. Real blow to go down like that. The season before that, when they were in there, they got relegated by 13 goals. 1 extra point in either one of those seasons would have kept them in as a Premier League team for another year, but they just weren't able to do it. Managers during this period, Juric was the last one we saw. I think Diego Martinez came in for a year. Petrescu came in for a year. Nobody really lasted more than 2 years, which is what Juric managed to do. The transfer business, though, during this time has been pretty impressive. £93 million spent on players. Remember, Tom Allingham was brought in. The following season, £94 million spent on players. A little bit better distributed that time. Then 103. They break the £100 million barrier spent on players. 67 million spent when they were in the Championship. Then 126 million spent. Also got a lot of players going out though. 170 million being sold. Terry Forrester coming in, and then just 9.5 million this season. They seem to become a little bit of a selling team, but they do have players worth a lot of money. They've got this Tom Allingham in here, who they signed for 54 million. Has been around for a little while now. A few other players worth a decent amount of money in the club, but their wage budget seemingly under control. I mean, that's a Premier League wage budget. It's not a Championship wage budget. But a lot of money going on the players' wages. But it's perfectly sustainable, because if we look at the club facilities, finances £101 million. They're still bringing in all of this money to the club, even though they're now down in the Championship. But they've got work to do, because this isn't going particularly well. In and out twice in the Premier League, and not able to secure themselves. But their finances are at least secure. So they're definitely a much more successful experiment so far, this one, than we had when we tried to just give a non-league team £1 billion. But given that they are sort of yo-yoing in and out of the Premier League, I think what I'm going to do now is just jump forward a good number of years and see if they ever do become a sustainable Premier League team. So when we left off with Brackley, they'd just gone down 18th place and struggled 12th place in the Championship. You can see that since then it's not been great. They spent a good number of years in the playoffs not getting up into the Premier League again before doing it in a 6th place finish. They actually held on in the Premier League as well, 15th place before going down 19th, back up, 19th, back up, 20th, and then they've been down ever since in the Championship. They seem to have become one of those yo-yoing teams, a bit like West Brom, who sometimes get in the Premier League, can sometimes even have 2-3 seasons in the Premier League, but usually just get relegated in and out. They're a bit of a yo-yo team, coming up and down, and unfortunately they've not been able to do it for quite some time now. They've had a lot of managers come in, including Patrick Vieira, Philippe Clement coming in for 3 years, 2 years for Paddy, but they've just not been able to hold down a manager because they haven't had a period of sustained success. And you can see the transfer budgets here, absolutely massive. Some of the money flying in and out of the team, always up in the hundreds of millions at this point. 25 there, it dropped down, huge number of outs, and then they became a bit of a selling club actually, more money going out than coming in. Reversed a little bit with time, but they are a sustainable team now, which is why they seem to net off a little bit. You can see how close these little graphs are aligned. There are a couple of seasons where most of the money's going out rather than coming in. I think that seems to be happening a little bit more often lately, whereas before that maybe spending a bit more money on players, but they do seem to have found that they're struggling a little bit. If you look at the senior squad, not many players of value left, and not paying the wages that they were a while ago either, because they are now a consistent Championship team. They've just had a season where they finished in 5th place, but no playoff victory. They are a playoff team, but not doing enough to get promoted through the playoffs often enough. And unfortunately, it's a little bit of a sad story, really, that they're not able to make it into the Premier League and become a consistent Premier League team. Maybe back here, when they were finishing in 18th place, if they had managed to stay up, because twice they went down on goal difference, if they had managed to stay up, maybe they could have put in a little run of consistency. But we seem to have found the floor for a team with perfect facilities, perfect everything, and that is being a Premier League in and out team. It's not enough to get you further up, even with 150,000 fans. So I think really you're probably looking at a mixture of £1 billion and a perfect shell team in order to actually move up. And that's why I think I might do one more part of this experiment, where what we do is we bump them back up to 10,000. We bump their attendance back up to 150,000. If we do that for both of them, and then also just put that club attendance up there as well. We go to their finances and we just give them 900 million. You can't give them $1 billion because it ticks over. We leave the transfer and wage budget, but the facilities all go back up to 20 as well. We'll even bump this up to 150 as well. Why not? Let's just give them the perfect stadium. Not go worry about the rest of it, but we've done it again. We've given them a mixture of £1 billion and the perfect facilities. They are literally the perfect club now. There is nothing else I can do except for start drafting in with the editor the best players possible. But let's go forward in the next episode and see what they can do with all of these facilities. Now, if you have enjoyed this part of this experiment, do drop a like down below if you want to see that extra part. Make sure to subscribe as well when it comes out in a couple of days' time. But until next time, see ya.